Nancy, Bess, and George swatted the bats as they ran towards the door. Before they could leave, "More gas," a voice said. "Awesome!" The girls froze, then turned around. Behind them was a woman wearing Chester's cap of bells. Behind her was a tall boy, a ballerina, a baker, and a human box of crayons. "I see you met my Betty friends," Lucy said. She pulled at one of them. "It bounces. Pretty realistic for rubber, huh?" "That's for sure," George agreed. She waved her arms around the room. "What's up with all this, Lucy?" "I was just about to add eyeball ice cubes to the punch," Lucy said. "And then we are going to play pin the fang on the vampire." Lucy tilted her head to study the girls. "Hey, weren't you those three witches that auditioned today?" she asked. "That was us," Nancy said. "Until our brew blew," Beth said. Lucy wiggled her head to make the bells ring. "Then happy early Halloween, witch sisters," she said. "You came in just in time for my party." "That's what this is?" Nancy asked. "A Halloween party?" "Yes, and it's about time," Lucy said. "When I went to River Heights Elementary School, I was a bit of a jokester." "A bit?" the crayon man scoffed. "Nobody wanted to come to my parties back then," Lucy sighed. "So when I came back to River Heights, I wanted to invite all my old classmates for a do-over." "Lucy is a total prank-free now," the ballerina said with a smile. "Except for Halloween," the baker said, giving one bat a playful swat. "But that's true. She's famous now, too," the cowboy piped in. "Who knew her jokes would make her a celebrity someday?" "Here's one," Lucy chuckled. "I threw a boomerang at a ghost, and it came back to haunt me." Lucy's friends laughed, but the girls traded looks. Was Lucy really prank-free, or was this a joke too on them? "How do you know you don't pull practical jokes anymore?" Nancy asked. "Like those pranks that were pulled at the auditions this morning." Lucy seemed surprised. "You think I ruined the auditions?" she asked. "It depends," George said. "Where were you at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon?" The baker raised her hand. "Lucy was with me," she said. "We went to see zombie slime monsters at the Riverplex yesterday. The show started at 5 o'clock. We got to the theater a bit earlier," Lucy said, "to buy some snacks." "Snacks, huh?" George slowly. "So how did you like the special slime green popcorn?" "We didn't," Lucy answered. The popcorn machine was out of order. George's eyes lit up. "Correct," she told Lucy. "You knew that the popcorn machine was broken, so you had to be at the zombie slime monsters on Friday." "What are you?" Lucy asked the girls. "Some kind of detective?" "Correct again," George said. "We are detectives, Lucy," Nancy said, "and we are glad you weren't at Rex and Gax planning all that mean stuff." "So I guess instead of being at the scene of the crime," Lucy joked, "I was at the scene of the slime." Everyone laughed, but when Nancy looked at Beth, she seemed puzzled. "Lucy, if you weren't in the store," Beth asked, "why was your signed picture there?" "I was at Rex and Gax on Thursday buying neat things for this party," Lucy explained. "I've been in River Heights since Wednesday, and I'm loving every minute," a voice said. Nancy, Beth, and George turned to see a tiny gray-haired woman dressed up like Mother Goose. She rubbed her hands together and said, "Okay, who's ready to bob for shrunken heads?" "Thanks, Mom," Lucy said. She turned to the girls and asked, "You'll be staying for the party too, right?" "Thanks, Lucy," Nancy said with a smile. "But we'd better go home now." "But first," Beth said, pulling out the judge's badge. Maybe you dropped this in the Heights Theater prop room. You were one of the judges. Lucy looked at the badge, then shook her head. My badge is upstairs on my dresser, she said. I'm sure of it. As the girls left the house, Bess slipped the badge back into her pocket. This badge must belong to Nathan, she said. Nancy crossed Lucy's name off her suspect list and said, We can give Nathan his badge on our way home. The Heights Theater is only 5 blocks away. But George didn't look very eager. Why bother, she sighed. It's late Saturday afternoon and we still haven't found out who ruined the auditions. Nancy knew time was running out for finding the theater prankster, but she refused to give up. We still have one day before the Twinkling Little Stars people go back to Hollywood, Nancy said, and one whole suspect. Bess said, Nora Rustard, the witch of the Heights Theater. Give me a break, Bess, George groaned. I don't think the piano was played by a ghost, Bess. Nancy said, I'm sure there was a reason for it. The girls reached the Heights Theater, but when Nancy tried to open the door, it was locked. The theater must be closed for the day, Nancy said. Let's give Nathan his badge tomorrow. Nancy was just about to turn from the door when she felt Bess grab her hand. What is it, Bess? Nancy asked. There it is again. Bess said. What? George asked. The piano, Bess hissed. Listen. Nancy and George listened and looked up. The music seemed to be coming from an upstairs window. Behind the half-open window was a group of shadowy figures. As the girls looked closer, they noticed more. Holy cannoli, George exclaimed, waving their arms in the and dancing to the music. There was a mummy, a vampire, a werewolf, and some kind of green creature that looked like ghosts. Bess, George, Nancy whispered, are those monsters?